Okay, so hi Victor. This is our second tete-a-tete. I don't know if it's going to be as outrageous as the first one. That wasn't particularly outrageous, was it?
I
Considering it
think
could have
like
been.
one or two murmurings I heard, when I put my ear against the wall and I heard some whisperings.
Hmm.
And it's because both of us go into a kind of impro sort of mode at times, and then my mind straddles my moon Pisces, and all that. But of course, Frank, first of all, we have to start with you. And I don't know whether everyone knows this, and I'm sure you'll rephrase this for me, but Frank, congratulations. My understanding is you have bought the Mountain Astrologer and you are about to launch it in June or relaunch it. Is
I
that right?
am. That's right. That's right. It's about a 9, 10 month process since all the legalities of last year, and wasn't quite sure it was going to happen, but it blossomed in March, just a month ago. So here I am with a little bit more work on my plate than I imagined. Yeah.
Nicely timed, with Neptune and Saturn approaching Aries now, or wherever they are. You're in that transitional stage, Pisces to Aries and all that.
Yeah, it feels like that. I might
And
be
you being Aries,
being in Aries, yes, Neptune moving into my sign. I'm wondering whether that will be uh, sort of direct to alcoholism, do not pass go, uh, do not publish again.
it's an amazing thing, Frank. It's a funny thing, as an astrologer, when one says, "Is it funny about the astrology?" I don't know one Aries person in my life at the moment who isn't fundamentally ending something or fundamentally starting something. Like the Lady magazine, which I worked for years, it's run by a couple of Aries people. And I almost, when we got to about March, I was doing my column and I kept thinking, I wonder if should I bother? Should I bother with the May issue, because I was thinking it was, are they going to survive this? But I can't congratulate you. I mean, what you've done is amazing. I mean, and you haven't started yet. But so, how is it? Will you actually be doing a print edition, or will it just be online or electronic?
It'll be both. What I'm planning to do is to have a multimedia magazine where it's a community, where there's opportunity to be part of a forum, which is already there now, and people are chatting and connecting. And I made the beginner's mistake of saying, "What would you like in the magazine?"
Oh yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
mean,
I've
I
done
know
that
what people
before.
want. Everybody wants something different, and it was interesting to. It's still interesting to read what people are needing. So,
They want 20 pages of electional advice. Don't, I mean, that's been said to me sometimes. And it's actually, I'm kind of antipathetic to all that, pages and pages of what I call planet spotting type copy. But, each to their own.
yes, I think people need short videos, which is what we're going to give them as well on the site. Short articles, yeah, summaries of different things, what to look out for. I just think life is so busy. It's not just the idea that the youth of today only have an attention span of a gnat. It's not really about that. It's or people's claims in that way, but it's more about the idea that people want to be able to pick something up quickly. They're busy. They'll want to come back to it. One of the things that I'm going to do with the magazine is to layer it. You know that wonderful word drop. I'm dropping the content this week or whatever. The
So easily misunderstood.
Indeed, indeed. I know I've been asked to drop other things, but content will be the only
I've
thing
been
I
told
drop.
to drop dead, but never mind, we won't go there.
Promise. I won't say it again today. I promise. Um, so, because the magazine is quarterly, we'll be dropping content every month. So people have a chance to come back without feeling overwhelmed. One of
Okay.
the biggest, I wouldn't say criticisms, but sort of mini moans about TMA over the years was that there's so much in it that people would have a quick look, put it to one side, and there'd be a new magazine in 2 months, and they hadn't really got through the first one, and they'd have a pile of them like we all do. I mean, I've got my pile up here behind me, and the um, uh, the key really is to just give people a few things every month to digest: a video, a course, a class, whatever it may be, articles, etc., and to just keep the content coming.
The old, when I say the old Tim, I say that with affection, because I was a great fan of the magazine. But of course, it was a quintessentially American magazine. It looked it, it felt it, even smelt it at times. So, will it be an anglicized thing, or will you do that transatlantic thing? You know, because I always see you as quite a transatlantic character.
Do you? Oh, that's interesting.
Well,
Well,
it's just me. I mean, I could have a nervous tick, you know.
could be. Um, I'm hoping it's going to be worldwide. I'm hoping
But
that
the character of it, or so you want it to be a sort of universal type magazine
ideally, I
in
mean,
feel.
we all have hopes, don't we? I'm sure. How long have you been editor now of the journal? 11 years. Amazing, 11 years. I mean, yes. I mean, I've gone through about five of them, I think, since or maybe six, but 11 years is a big stretch. Uh, so yes, the idea is I mean, I've got layout people. One of them's in South Africa, one of them's in America.
All right.
So I'm hoping it won't look of a particular country. I hope it will look universal and, the Aquarian spirit of Pluto and Aquarius, maybe.
Because I'm wondering whether you'll be. I could never pronounce his surname. Tem Richter, is that what is his name? How do
Um,
you pronounce it?
I heard different pronunciations of it. Tariktar, Tariktar. I tended to go with Tariktar, but I have a
Right.
feeling it was slightly different.
But Tem, do you think you might be sort of his soul, you'd be channeling dear Tem, because Tem actually founded the magazine and he made it the success it was. I think it'd be fair to say it's one of the few examples of an astrology magazine. I'm not saying it made fortune, but it was able to pay its contributors and it was commercially driven by advertising and cover price. But I'm wondering whether you'll be channeling something of him or
I
whether you're reinventing the wheel.
I hope so. I mean, I loved him. He was a great guy, and he had the ability, which is something I don't quite have yet, to keep everybody happy, or almost
Oh,
everybody.
don't do that.
No. Okay. All right.
Follow my example. Otherwise, you go crazy. You really will. You have to risk offending people by not including them. I mean, we produce six issues a year. So what I try to do is that through the year, I try to balance it. So we get the world astrology and the natal and this and that, and then a bit of old dwad thrown in. You know, so it's like trying to keep a cookery show going with three courses.
Yeah. Yeah. Very wise. Yes. But no, you can't keep everybody.
Grasshopper.
I think no, Tem didn't get involved in the politics of astrology, and as we know, it's there. It's been there for years. Personality politics, politics of what you use, what you don't use in your charts, all sorts of stuff. And I'm hoping that there'll be space for every type of astrologer. Obviously, not every astrologer will be in there, but if it's kept long enough, you never know. But it's definitely an opportunity to have different voices. What I didn't, it was interesting that, I mean, Ray has had it for 5 years after Tem died, Ray Rutter, Ray Sapp as she was then, and, did a great job keeping it together. I mean, I would have gone spare. I would not have been able to create the LSA online. I would have not been able to develop the school in China and Japan, or just it would have just taken over my life. It would have steamrolled me 7 years ago when Tim asked me to buy it, and that's before his diagnosis. So I just didn't want to go there. It was just too much. Very happy to contribute. Ray kept it alive for as long as she could. Print media is just tough, isn't it? You see something like The Lady collapsing after how many years? 100 years?
140 years. It was founded in 1885,
Wow, wow.
even before Oscar Wilde picked up with Rent Boys.
Right.
I like to say that.
It's that wasn't on my calendar. I didn't recognize that. But the it's interesting that with the lady, you came out with some interesting videos on your beach bum astrologer.
Yes, I mean, we're learning things as we go along. As you probably will understand that I can't say too much since there is a process going on of liquidation, but it's a bit more complicated than that.
It's
Certain information has reached my ears.
Well, you were pretty frank about what you discussed as you were roaming the beach. I was interested because you see, you were very opinionated about it, and why not? People are very quiet about these things sometimes.
Oh, I don't do quiet. And you know, my blog, Madame Markati's been revived. And it's funny, I'm channeling Madame Markati, which means that it's really weird. But yesterday I should have been doing something else, preparing for a conference. And in the end, I wanted to write this something for Arcadia. I needed to get out of my system. And it's like an automatic writing type thing where you could say the bile comes out of my system, but it's not really that. It's actually trying to be honest about things. So with the lady, I was on the one hand sorry that it had happened. I wasn't particularly surprised. In fact, what surprised me was that it kept going for 140 years because it went into a half-century decline. But certain things are happening there which suggest to me, which may give cause, and I'll put this as subtly as I can as Madame Marati, it makes you think about the afterlife.
Okay.
And certain things are going on at the moment which might suggest that the lady is not entirely vanished.
And you were writing horoscopes monthly for them for
Yeah,
how
yeah.
many years?
11 years. Rachel Johnson hired me. She's Boris Johnson's sister, as you know. And as I may have told you before, she wanted me to take the piss out of astrology. And I said, I'm going to do nothing of the sort. She'd read our cartoons and she thought I'm all satire and that. And I said, no, when it comes to astrology, I'm serious, but I can be amusing, but it would be serious.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting people's views of it. I know over the years, Shelley von Strunkel has spoken about being fired, reinstated, fired, reinstated, as people come in and expect us
I don't know how she
go
put
away.
up with it. I mean, I've got to know Shelley a little bit, and I love it. I mean, it's thanks to you that I know her personally. I always remember that interview we did with her
Yeah.
when my dictaphone broke down, as ever. And but the way she was treated over the years is unbelievable. I wouldn't have put up with it. I'd have told them where to put themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I imagine she had a long-term view of what could be done, which I think is helpful sometimes when
Well, she's
people,
not a Cancerian for nothing, and yet there is not a strategic Cancerian that I've yet to meet or not meet. And she would have made it. I mean, the Sunday Times, obviously, you're not going to give it up easily, are you?
no. So tell me about your writing for 11 years. Did it, when I wrote columns, it really honed my craft. I really felt I could say something in 75 or 90 words, whatever it was back then. What did it do for you in all those years?
Well, I think it just sharpened my act, to be honest with you. When I first started the column, I would spend, we're only talking about 700 words. It could take me 3 or 4 hours. And there'll be days, when I think, oh my God. And then you look at the chart and you think, and you're going to have to do variations of 12, if you, although the way you'll know yourself, there are ways of doing it. But I think what happened is that as I've grown a little older, more experienced, I can glance at the chart and immediately I get an idea. And then I was able to concentrate it down to about 75 words a sign. And I would always make sure that there was one sly little joke in there somewhere, especially when it got to Aries, because the editor and the owner both Aries. But so I think what happens with the years, and if you've still got a pulse, you sharpen up your act and you cut out the extraneous stuff. And a lot of people are rude about sun sign astrology, but the fact of the matter is all astrology systems work at a certain level. And if you take it seriously, the rewards come in the fact that people write to you. And you will have had this experience when people say, I cannot believe, I mean, I had this Sagittarius woman who idiotically someone at the office gave her my number. And whenever I see her name come up now, I press delete, because I know she wants a free reading.
Well, Sagittarius has a reputation for that.
Yes, I mean, and I say good luck to you. Good luck if you can find somebody to give you a free reading. But she'll tell me what's going on in her life, and then she's hoping that I'll say, "Well, Jupiter's coming to your rescue," whatever it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do say that.
Oh,
But no, it was a great joy to work with the lady. It opened a few doors which perhaps shouldn't have been open to me, because if you mention, "Oh, I'm the astrologer to the lady," you know.
indeed, indeed. So, how do you cope with people wanting free readings?
I
Yeah.
very gently and politely direct them to my website. But at the moment, I'm suspending client readings because I've got so much on. And now that I'm going to be 68 next month, so maybe I should start tottering around in my commode or something. But I just thought I wanted to take a rest. I do get a bit tired of client work. It's a dangerous thing to say, isn't it? Bread and butter. But because I've got pensions and I've got this and that, and I'm earning still with the AA, and so not a great deal, but the fact is it's there and
Yeah.
it's a great job. I love editing Stellar and Journal. but I need more time for myself. So I'm having a little bit of a, and also Madame Marati, you see. Where did this come from, Frank? And it's because Uranus is approaching my sun. Sun is very early Gemini, you see. So Uranus, I'm under that Uranian thing, and I'm feeling it very strongly at the moment.
Hmm. So what's the best word for it? You rejuvenated Madame Arcati. She was dormant for a while, wasn't she? How many years?
She went quiet for quite about 5 or 6 years, largely because she was restricted. Blogger banned it because they thought it was a pornographic site. Nothing of the sort. And and then Twitter, as it then was, banned it because it was restricted. So because it had a restricted categorization, it couldn't go on to the Google search. So in effect, my audience dried up. Then I recently sent a ferocious letter direct to Elon Musk, invoking all sorts of threats and curses. And then one day, about 3 months later, I was informed, a little note said, your account has been unrestricted.
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't know whether it had anything to do with me placing a curse on him or what, but I thought it was ridiculous. Yes, it is outspoken. Yes, there is content on there that may be these days regarded as dubious. But I set up, I won't go on about this, but I set up Arcati after I went to Barcelona back in 2006. And I think it must be something about the Art Deco architect, because I bored out of my mind. And I wanted to create an alter ego. And I suddenly got this idea. I'd just seen Blithe Spirit, the Noel Coward play in London at the Savoy. And Madame Arcati had always interested me. And I suddenly thought, well, why didn't I become the media medium? So, and then it happened slowly. I can be very patient, actually. That's Saturn on my NC. I can be very methodical, just as you are, with your Saturn on your AC. And gradually it took off, and now it's bubbling along. It's under the radar at the moment, but it's just another creative side of my nature. Enough of Arcati, otherwise she'll take over the show.
Indeed. So what's Uranus? You're feeling it already. Is that the sense that where you're going to take it when it finally gets to your sun?
I think it's the hyper sense of independence. I mean, I'm independent anyway, but there seems to be a rebelliousness in me at the moment, which I'm trying to contain, although I'm not quite sure what I'm rebelling against. But I'm quite feeling restless, bearing in mind that progressed Sun is moving away from my natal Uranus and is merging with progressed Uranus, which is about 1 or 2 degrees away from its natal position in the sixth house in Leo. So and that Uranian energy is going to be there for quite a long time, going back and forth. As you know, Uranus is very slow moving. And I strongly think that it will indicate quite a change of direction for me. But don't tell me what that is. I don't know.
No.
But I can feel it.
Well, if you can predict it, it isn't uranium. That's what I always say.
Well, yes, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But what you can say is expect the unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you're taking a sabbatical from clients. I do that uh, maybe twice a year and just have 3 or 4 months without them. And then when I see them, I know I'll see maybe two or three a day, certain days of the week, and they fill up that way. And I know I'm committed to it. Otherwise, I think I would be a little bit insane too, just having to deal with that.
How do you, I mean, editing TMA is going to be quite a thing. I mean, even when you're doing other things, you'll be thinking, well, that might work for TMA, or what on earth is so and so doing over there. Um, have you sort of worked out in your mind how it's going to, like the pie chart, so to speak?
Well, yes, yes. I have the first 3 or 4 issues already mapped out, including the hard copy one. So it's been absorbing a lot of my energy and time. But I've hired a full-time uh, project manager who's going to be the managing editor. You probably know her, Stephanie James, who's a
Oh, yes. Yeah, she's
former teacher
great.
of mine.
She's
Yeah,
wonderful.
she's very Capricorn. I can rely on her. She's very good at what she does. And yes, the idea is to do the Aries thing to get the energy into it and contact the people I know, and for Stephanie to do the rest. That would be
And
nice.
so when the masthead comes up, which always remind me of the Star Wars credit, the receding craft, the credits, blah, 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 the masthead. Will it be like CEO publisher Frank C. Clifford? I mean, will it be like that, do you think?
Well, I hadn't thought of that.
With everyone else's name in microfont. This is what they used to do at the Lady magazine.
Oh, I see. Okay, the Superman credits with the music and
Yes.
everything.
Oh.
I went to UAC. Are you going to UAC next year in America? No? Okay. The first URAC I went to, they did everybody's uh, names with Superman music
Oh,
and
right.
bits. Um, the Brits in the audience were just laughing because it felt so over the top. Because there were people shooting in and there was applause and it felt like it was Superman 2 or something, you know.
Wow.
So no, no, I haven't thought about that. But it's yeah, I think we all have an ego. I just I'm I feel my
Well,
ego is fed generally. You know, I'm happy with where it's at. You may
well,
hear some
at a
people.
basic level, it's actually saying who's behind it. I mean, you've got a wonderful history. Everyone knows about you or of you or knows you personally, and you've got vast army of students and former students and stuff like that. So there's a lot to boast about, I think, if
Well,
boast is the word.
well, the key is I want to create some good content and keep people involved. People do, as we know, people pass in and out of astrology all the time.
Yeah.
Come back 10 years later, rediscover it, step away from it for whatever reason. And it's nice when people do come back, but it's also nice when people are staying. And at the LSA for the last, I mean, I've been running it now 21 years, which I can't believe. Uh, we have students who never leave. We have a pass that people can buy for the year once they've done the 3 years. And we have a good dozen who just come back every year and they receive access to everything. They stay part of it. They come to London. And I think that's wonderful. Uh, Years ago, when we had classes 3, 4 times a week, which I stopped quite happily, but when we had them on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and a Saturday, I think half of it was people coming in to chat, to connect, to exchange gossip, to keep up with, what's going on in each other's lives. I
It's
think,
wonderful when that happens, like a church, isn't it? It's the same with you may know this, the School of Traditional Astrology. There are social groups that form and they're always putting up their horrors, where's my ring and all that. And and of course, I studiously ignore all that. But it's there.
yeah,
And as you're quite right, you've got shared interests. Why would you want to lose it?
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm doing something for the STA in June. Interestingly, I'm doing a talk. Deb got in touch, rang me on a Sunday morning somewhere. So
Very dead.
very Deb, yeah. I didn't answer. I waited for the email because I thought it's not probably she's not calling me because she's in an emergency at all. But anyway, and I'm looking forward to that. And as you know, there are just some very bright people around doing some very good work. And the key is to listen to those and not the ones that are stirring up trouble or divisiveness, etc.
No names mentioned, but certainly one is always trying to seek out the rational. That's that. Put it that way, politely. But it's interesting working with some astrologers who can be difficult. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to name names, but it's well worth the difficulty. I mean, I can't believe I've just said that. But sometimes I will work with people for months and months and months, and it may take the form of a dispute, or it may be that we can't do this, we can't do that. Can't we just focus on the thing that people are most likely to understand? And then that's your stepping point. And so working with people in that way, of course, you can't do that with everybody, but if they're worth it, you do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And yeah, I think some people I find tend to feel editors are my friend, having been with different publishers over the years and found that some of them are just people with an English degree and that's it. And they've got no idea about anything else, and that can drive me crazy. But generally, the idea that you both want the product to be good. But a lot of people see us in the editor role as somebody that's critical or criticizing, and what we're trying to do is bring out the best.
I think that's true. I was watching a documentary about Anna Wintour. She's been editor of American Vogue for about 5,000 years, but still looking good on it. But where it becomes similar to what we do as an editor, as a generic, is it's 90% making decisions. Will this work? Does that work? Can I get someone to do something? And coming up with ploys to get people to do stuff. But it's very much a decision making process, which annoys some people because they think, oh, it's a power thing. You're trying to control. And some people I don't get it so much now, but in the past, people would send me copy in a heavily formatted document, hoping that I would lay it out exactly as they had laid it out, not understanding about PDFs or that it doesn't work that way and that the copy actually has to be proofed, you know.
Well, Anna is an interesting one because I've followed and watched different documentaries. She hates astrology, by the way. I know that she finds it quite
Oh, yes, she's quite rude about
yes,
astrology.
or the sun sign bit of it, I imagine. But yes, it's the decisiveness. Did you ever see the September issue?
Oh,
The
yes, yes, great film.
yeah, great.
Brilliant.
And they made such a fuss of how she treated Grace Coddington, I think it was.
Coddington, yes, yes.
And I didn't see any nastiness there. I just saw that she was having to be decisive. It didn't work. It didn't look right. And I think as an editor, you have to, if you have the luxury, you have to have a vision and to understand how it's going to fit.
Well,
And a lot of
Grace
writers don't
herself,
do that.
yeah, Grace herself in the film actually acknowledged that. She understood that to do her work, she needs to have a platform. And she acknowledged that even the role of, because at that time, in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, celebrity became very much to the fore in terms of selling magazines. And Coddington hated that. But once again, it was Winter deciding that this is the way we go and being decisive. And I thought there was a lot of mutual respect between them.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I am. In fact, somebody heard recently that I'd bought the TMA and they sent me a picture of Meryl Streep as
Oh,
the Devil Wears Prada herself, uh,
Miranda Priestley.
Miranda Priestley, and
Yeah.
said that they hoped I was working on the "You can leave now" or whatever she said, that famous line.
That's all.
That's all. That's all. Okay, yeah, yeah. I
What you'll need is a sort of match all sort mini me, run around that you can humiliate on a regular basis. I don't have one myself,
oh
but you may be able to indulge one.
but you've never had one, or you just don't have one anymore. She-
I think they can see me coming.
Ah,
But no, I mean, we don't have the luxury of PAs at the
no,
Astrological Association. We don't need one. You know,
no.
I have become an all dancing, all singing editor. And of course, Stella has added to the rich variety because, on the one hand, I'm still editing journal as it should be edited, long pieces and blah, 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 and then some short pieces. But with Stella, it really is quite punchy, shall we say.
Indeed.
And I'm putting, with Stella, I've decided with the covers to put the astrology more to the fore than celebrity. I've decided that the trouble with putting name of sort of famous people on the cover all the time is that the starting point is celebrity rather than astrology. That's the way I'm thinking at the moment. So we've got Liz Green, an extract from her Jupiter book by Jove for the next issue, the May-June issue. And we'll see how that picks up in terms, because it's a free magazine, as you know. So my feeling is that we'll get a natural pickup once with the live links. But I keep trying to tell people, please publish the live link.
Yes.
Marketing, social. I'm giving a lecture in a week's time at the Mayo on how to get your message out there. I'm calling it Silence is Not Golden. And of course, once upon a time, you talk about books. I know you've written about all this, how to write books and approach magazines. But these days, you've got to think about other things now, like podcasts and stuff like that. You can have your own little studio in your office.
Yeah,
You can get these editing suites now.
I know. It's a little scary. You have to keep up with it, a bit like mobile phones. Otherwise, you just won't know what to do with them once they arrive. So, do you have any advice for me as I begin this rather crazy dash for the
Well,
next?
it's too late, Frank.
Is it too late? Okay.
It's like trying to be halfway pregnant. You can't be. You're in for it for the ride. Of course, my advice always is ignore criticism, like I do. I mean, there's always somebody out there that's going to have a gripe or put you down, or they're jealous, or TMA, blah blah blah. Because if you don't mind my saying, I think there was a phase before it sort of ended for a little while where there was quite a lot of criticism on Facebook. I'm not going to comment on whether that was fair criticism or not, but it may be that the lessons can be learned from that.
Indeed, yes. I read some of the comments. towards the end of Ray's run with it. And it was interesting because I think Ray um, explored TMA through the lens of weird, WYRD. And
Yes.
I don't know much about that myself, but and I'd find sometimes that my articles had pictures or graphics in it were quite extreme that I wouldn't have chosen. But Ray was somebody that was publishing and showing her sexuality, I think, in many different ways. And I remember some of the protests of some of the sexualized imagery in there,
Yeah.
and from women about a woman editor, a woman publisher. So it was interesting that it wasn't, oh, I'm pleased you're developing your line of sexuality. It was more, we don't want to see that. So it's a little bit difficult. It reminds me of that final scene of Grease when Olivia Newton-John comes out. You know, she's been very virginal, very sweet.
Mm.
Then has she been forced to look leathery, all glammed up? Um, is she going to be slut shamed, or is she somebody who's found who she is? You know, it's always an interesting thing. Is that, you know, when you express yourself, it's going to offend. Yes, it probably will. Or is it more important to be yourself than to keep everybody else happy?
Yeah, I mean that's the interesting thing, and it goes into the delicate area of trying to strike a balance between the self-expression, but also listening to the readers. And I mean, when we talk about TMA, let's say, and then the astrological journal, we have to recognize they're different animals, although we seem to be doing the same thing. But of course, journal is essentially a membership magazine and does pick up singleton readers, if I can put it that way, who are not members. But it's primarily a membership title. And straying now with Stella, which is going sort of straying into the more commercial area, although it's early days. But trying to strike that balance between listening to the readers, but not being, shall we say, dominated by certain factions or a certain sensibility, whatever it may be. I know a lot of people use the word woke, which I don't really understand what that means anymore. It seems to become a derogatory term, whereas it started off as being aware of other people's sensitivities. But it's funny how things go on a roller coaster. And as an editor, I do think one of the things I admire about Scorpio Winter, Anna Winter, is that she's highly mercurial and highly fixed. So she goes with things, she can see what's around the corner, and she knows how to animate it. But there seems to be a solidity to her that never changes. Even her look doesn't change. I mean, she dresses the same as she did 30, 40 years ago. She's got the same bob and everything. So she's a strange, timeless, she's paradoxical, you know, fixed and yet fashionable.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
find that
that's going to be Frank. Fixed but fashionable.
and fashionable and always frank if I can be.
And
Yeah,
always Frank.
always frank if I can be. Indeed, indeed. Well, yes, wonderful. Well, thank you. And so the next journal is, when is it available? Has it been
Any
uploaded?
minute now, it's going to press as we speak. We got a bit delayed by Easter, and then one thing and another. I'm trying to bring forward the release time for Stella, but we have to sort out the advertising and stuff. That's more like the other end. It doesn't really affect me personally. But yeah, it's the May June's the next one. It'll be out any minute now, and I hope everyone loves it. I mean, we can coexist. I mean, there's Time Lords out there, so I never see it, but it's out there somewhere. It's like it's Planet Nine, isn't it? You know, we know it's there somewhere. I'm just not quite sure where it is. Oh dear, am I being horrible? Sorry, but you know, a bit of healthy rivalry. Why not?
Oh, as you say, there's enough to go around.
Oh
I think
yes, I
people
mean,
like different
absolutely,
perspectives.
and
Yeah,
it's more choice,
yeah,
different voices, more platforms for people. I think it's good for astrology to have as many publications. I mean, we talk about magazines, but they can be e-versions, they can be print versions. And then I always say now, everybody's an editor because on Facebook, you know, you go to someone's page and they'll publish a 5,000 word essay that no one's going to read. But they put it there anyway. It's unedited, you know, and it goes on and on and on and on. But the thing is, they have the power to do it. They can do it on their website. They can do it on their Facebook page. We're all editors now. But if you want a professional job done, you know where to come, people.
indeed, indeed. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end. Thank you for your time on that. It's always
And
great
thank you for
catching up.
sharing your new adventure with us.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to it. I like a challenge, and I think we'll have fun, and hopefully I'll get you on board in some capacity too, so we can be mutually.
I'll be the cans behind your rear bumper. Clank, 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 or
Oh,
something like that.
okay. Well, that's a thought I hadn't considered. Thanks, Victor. See you soon.
Thanks, Frank. Lovely to speak.
Thank you. Bye bye.